Hi, everyone, and welcome to episode 76 of the Rebel Scum podcast. I'm James Razile. This is
Rob.
And
I'm Brock Smink.
This is Brock. We're going to talk very quietly today.
Right.
I just want, before we get started, I want everyone to know something. We really, really like Star Wars.
That's right.
We do. Rob did not like The Last Jedi.
That's right.
But as a whole, we enjoy Star Wars. And if you're watching this and you don't enjoy Star Wars,
we'll be talking about Star Trek later.
No. I don't know what to say. But I love you. Thanks for watching. Hit the like button. Subscribe if you can. That would mean a lot to us. It helps us out quite a bit. But yeah, we like Star Wars a lot, and that's why we're doing a podcast on Star Wars. We don't want to, and like I said, Rob doesn't like The Last Jedi. We like Brock more than likes The Last Jedi. I like The Last Jedi. We don't want to sway anyone either way, and we respect everyone's opinion, but let's keep it classy up here.
Mm-hmm. Keeping it classy.
I'm really excited to talk about Star Wars today.
Hooray!
Should we get things started?
Let's do it.
No! Let's get things started.
Play the music. Da, 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 da.
Before we get started, I want to talk about a couple things coming up on the channel. If you've not watched our Ranking Star Wars show, go check that out. We ranked them 1 to 9. Rob heavily hates it.
Not hates it.
Not hate. Dislikes. He disapproves of it. On January 14th, this coming Sunday, our Star Wars The Last Jedi Roundup is coming on, where the three of us join with Andrew Fantasia. We'll give our final type thoughts of it. Won't be final, obviously, but we'll talk about Last Jedi. It's kind of a sequel to our roundtable that we did in November in a lot of ways. And on January 29th, Patreon subscriber Dan Allen, who may or may not join us later in the show, takes on the 0-1 Duel of the Fates competitor Andrew Fantasia. Who will win? We don't know. We're going to find out January 29th, 7 p.m. Eastern. Thanks a lot. Look for that one. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Rebel Scum Cast on Twitter, Rebel Scum Podcast on Instagram, and just Rebel Scum Podcast on Facebook. And then Patreon. We have a bunch of levels on Patreon. We won't really go into any of that. Right? Actually, should we? Yeah.
Yeah, we should.
We definitely should. We should tell people about our Patreon page. Because the people that are on it, thank you so much. It means a lot to us for doing that. You can find us at patreon.com/RebelScumPodcast. And there are 4 tiers. Tier $1, $2, $3, and $10. The $10 tier, you get to be a contestant on Duel of the Fates, or you get to appear with this guy right here on Vote of No Confidence. And there'll be other cool things coming up. But for all those tiers, we're going to be doing a Last Jedi contest just for Patreon subscribers, where you're going to win the Blu-ray of The Last Jedi.
What?
Courtesy of Rob.
Courtesy of Rob.
Rob's just like, what?
All right, let me check out my bank account.
Word. You know you're going to buy it.
Yeah, you're going to buy it, and you're going to buy it for one of our Patreons. So look for that. Also, and everyone that's been sharing us on Facebook for the Facebook contest, that is awesome.
Yeah,
thank you so much. You can see, if you're, I don't know if you guys can, but the admin, you can see how many times it's been viewed and shared and everything. It's pretty awesome. So we will. Here are the. These are the.
Are we going to do it right now?
No, we're going to do it later in the show.
Oh,
we'll make you all wait. We got to make you wait. We're going to go on. But The Last Jedi, a lot of people are conflicted on Last Jedi.
Yes.
Did it? We talked last week. Did Rian Johnson just wave his middle finger at Star Wars and J.J. Abrams? Where does it go? Is J.J. Abrams going to retcon what Rian Johnson decided to do? So let's talk about Episode 9 and where does it go? And before we get into anything, let's talk about the time period of this movie. Are we going to jump ahead 3, 5, 10, 15 years, or are we going to skip ahead maybe a month, or is it going to start immediately following Episode 9, Brock, or Episode 8, Brock?
I think we're going to do an actual, for sure, time jump, because I think anyone can accept that. I think there are regular people, the normies, that watch this movie or the original series and don't put together that there's been a jump. Like, they're like, oh, well, time has passed. They've gone from here to there. Because, well, that's what the beauty of the crawl is. It explains to you why they are where they are at this exact moment. But, no one, I don't think, I know my parents have never put together, oh, maybe there's a year in the middle, maybe there's 3 months, maybe there's 2. We don't know. And I think one of the jarring things about episode 8 is that it happens so quickly. We don't have that time. I think it helps with the Resistance. They're running, that like they are on the run. They're not like, we've escaped and we've survived for a while, but now they found us again. Like, no, like this is the end of Force Awakens and we are in trouble. So I think the time jump will come back in and people won't find that as confusing. I hope there isn't a huge time jump. Like in a lot of different franchises, they do like a couple years, which is great. It works, but I don't know if it would work with Star Wars, where we come back and Rey is a Jedi Master, Poe is the leader of the Resistance or the New Republic or whatever you want to call it. I don't know if that'll work. I feel like that'll be too disjointed. There will be too much separation in the movies. So,
well, I mean, when Empire ends and Jedi starts, Luke is a Jedi Master.
Yeah, I guess.
Right? Like the same thing could be done with Rey, is all I'm saying.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that was acceptable because we were still trying to understand it all. Now it's like, I think it'll be a fine movie, but I think people like us, we might not accept it because they're like, because right now she's a Mary Sue. I don't like it, but that's how people look at her.
But this is the thing, if you time jump though, then she can come back as a full-blown Jedi, and it could be like, well, she read the books.
But you yourself have said that you want some training.
Oh God, yes.
So, and I know
don't think we're gonna get it.
I don't think that's what I thought. That's what I was gonna say. But I don't know. Like,
I kind of feel like again, it's hard to predict with the way that Last Jedi ends exactly where Episode 9 could be. But my idea with the way that the ending was done is that I think that we're going to start Episode 9 with not only Rey being pretty much a master or close to a master. I have a feeling that we're going to wind up in Episode 9 where she's already starting to teach people the Force. Because I kind of feel like the way this thing is ending, the fact that Bruin Kid was a Force user, not just somebody that, you know, can spark hope and join the Resistance, the fact that they showed him being a Force user tells me that I think that she's going to create her own group of Jedi in this movie, and that we're going to finally see the Knights of Ren for Kylo Ren. So the way that things are going to head to is it's going to be Kylo and Rey heading for a collision course with her Jedi and his Knights of Ren, along with the Resistance and the First Order.
Yeah.
So I kind of feel like that's where the collision course is heading.
And it's all very slow motion in space. And one ship's here and the other ship's here. And here's what I don't like predicting. We were 2 years out, obviously. We just saw the last movie. They're not even going to start shooting until June for the new one. J.J. Abrams just pitched it a month ago. But for me, Brock, we talked about this, I think in March or April or May, or like it was a year ago.
Yeah.
We talked about this, where what if the possibility of Episode 9 leading to like a Lord of the Rings style finale, where you have Rey now with a bunch of Jedi, or a couple, and the Resistance, and then you have Snoke and his Knights of Ren, and you get like a giant battle to end it all. Because the one thing, like, Star Wars is a lot of fun, but we've never had, I mean, we've had Hoth and Crate now, but we've never had a giant battle, and we haven't seen more than one Jedi at a time.
Right. I can agree with what Rob said. I think I've had that thought as well, where it's like, well, now we have the Knights of Ren can come back in if they are in fact alive, or if he rebuilds them. I mean, there's got to be a reason why there's a Knights of Ren, or maybe there isn't.
And they're not in the Last Jedi. There's no room for them to be in the Last Jedi because it takes place in 18 hours. Yeah. So they might be over there, right? So
yeah.
And I think what we've all, every Star Wars fan for the last 40 years has wanted is, let's rebuild the Jedi. Let's Luke's Jedi, blah, blah, blah. That, I think, is what we all want. I don't know if that's what we'll see. I agree I think there's going to be a battle as well, because I see a lot of, like, matchups. Like, I think Rey and Kylo, obviously. And I think Poe and Hux could also be who crash. But I had this thought, and I don't mean to divert from what we're saying. I just thought, like, I think earlier today, what if the end of Episode 9 is Kylo and Rey sacrificing each other in some way? Because the story is sort of become their relationship. Even though it's not the romance that everyone wants, I feel like to have a satisfying end, if in fact these characters end in this movie, they have to like both die, if that makes sense, because it's sort of like you don't. I don't know. People probably disagree with me. I don't think Rey being successful and Kylo being vanquished is a satisfying end to the story. What do you guys think about that?
Absolutely not.
Yeah,
are you agreeing with me or you're not?
I'm agreeing with you too. I think that maybe just a little bit too cliched, a little bit to the
There's
extent,
just something about it,
and just seems really normal. I mean, when you were mentioning, James, that like it might turn out being a big Lord of the Rings type battle, and if we're saying that way where it's going to be like Rey and like 100 Jedi versus Kylo and like 100 Knights of Ren, I don't think that's the case. Like I think that's going to be something that's really like hard to grasp, that Rey is just trained 100 Jedi.
It'd be like between the two movies. I'm thinking like realistically, it would be like 5 and then the 12 Knights of Ren, right? Like, but then so it would be like, you have your the Fellowship of the Ring, and then you have all of like your elves and all those guys, right? That's what I mean. And the Resistance would be that. That's what I'm. That's what be Old Republic stuff.
Yeah, that's what I would see too. Is like if she has students, I particularly see it being like I don't know, at most half a dozen. At most.
Yeah.
And like but I'm more seeing like maybe like 3 or 4 new characters. But how many new characters are you really gonna do, right? In this movie, I hope it's not.
And the problem is they become disposable. You know what I mean? Like
and that's what would obviously happen. Like some of them would die. Maybe one of them's a traitor. That's a typical thing to do with something like that.
But bringing it back to the Lord of the Rings reference, like maybe not. This is technically The Hobbit, but like there's like 12 dwarves in that. But we have 3 movies to get to know them, and then by the end it's like, oh, I feel things when they die. So I don't know. Like I want it, but I feel like Rey training anyone just seems off, unless it's like 10 years in the future. But
no, I don't think she could train either. But they've. I don't like. I don't know where they're going with it, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like you want a satisfying ending.
Yeah.
So, like you just said, if Rey's victorious and Kylo dies or whatever, that's bland. Like Ryan Johnson's even like, why would I just kill Kylo? That's boring.
Yeah.
So you got to keep that mentality. Then how do you do it? But I just think like if this is all coming to an end, like this Skywalker saga thing is coming to an end, what better way to end it than a giant battle?
Oh, for sure.
And J.J. Abrams is the king of fun, right?
Yeah.
I don't think there's a big part of me that doesn't think that's where it's going, but a big part of me that wants it to go.
Yeah, for sure.
I think I would say like there's 100% chance that there will be a giant battle in this movie, but as to what it's gonna be, if it'll be just ground warfare, but Star Wars is space battles, and there's gonna be a gigantic space battle, and like, especially considering we haven't had like a real gigantic space battle in this series yet.
And they didn't do it in The Last Jedi, so it's like, well, we can't do that again, so
we're gonna get something cool that maneuver Poe does at the beginning of the movie is fantastic.
Yeah.
I think we'll see some really cool dogfights in episode 9, but what is the heart of episode 9 going to be? Is it going because the heart of 7 is with Rey and Han, you can argue. Mm-hmm. Then the heart of 8 is Luke, and then your heart of 9 is, and that I think is what really throws people off with The Last Jedi is you've killed Han, you've killed Luke, we don't have Carrie Fisher anymore, and everyone's like, it feels very final. The Last Jedi feels final.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's what's confusing people is that it's clearly not final. There's another chapter to go, but what in that chapter is going to make us care about what's going on? Because what we've seen, like we've already seen 2 movies of the Resistance fighting the First Order. That's not going to be the crux of this film. There's going to be something going on emotionally in this movie that's going to propel us forward in it. What's that going to be?
Yeah. See, the problem with that is that, James, you and I have spoken about it, that it's just like, we don't want Kylo to turn, right? We think we want this to be his Last Jedi to have been the final nail in the coffin where he's turned to the dark side and whatnot. And I think that before Carrie Fisher had died, the emotional crux of the movie was going to be Leia and Kylo, I think. Leia and Ben and, their final like resolution, because I get the feeling, I don't know about you guys, but Last Jedi, I don't think they changed anything.
No.
After Carrie Fisher's death. I don't think they changed anything. And if this was the way it was going to be with Carrie Fisher alive, I felt like we were going to get that resolution in episode 9, and like they've tweeted out plenty of times saying that that's what the original plan was, especially that there was supposed to be apparently 2 very key scenes that they had written for both Ben and Leia together. So, I mean, with her gone, and are they going to recast her or not? If they recast her and Leia's still in there, then they'll obviously, I think, continue with that emotional part of the arc, but will it mean as much that it's not Carrie Fisher anymore? So it's difficult to predict, I think.
I think you're right. I think we've said it before. I think Kylo's story has still a lot to be told, and when you think about that, Leia was supposed to be a big part of the 9th movie. Like, you can learn about who Ben Solo was through the eyes of his mother, if they were to do like flashbacks again. I mean, you can still do it. I mean, I don't know what you guys think. I think Mark Hamill's going to return as a Force Ghost because they're like, we need something to link it back.
Gandalf.
Like a Gandalf, yeah. Like, so he's a Force Ghost, so maybe he takes Kylo on some kind of, I don't know what to call it, like the Force cave or the Force tree from Dagobah, like, where because he's a Force Ghost, he's able to take him into they're able to go in the past. It's almost like a weird backwards It's a Wonderful Life, where it's like, see, if you hadn't saved that guy from flowing into the frozen water, you would never have stopped the bank. But something like that, like, he gets his Force wings when he saves Kylo Ren. I kind of want to see that. That would be a sweet Christmas special. But like, yeah, maybe you can do that. I don't. And the only reason is so you can understand who Kylo Ren is, not as a. Almost try to do it as a way to make, oh, you should be good again. It's like, no. So I don't know.
See, I think the tough thing about what we're talking about right now is that when we're talking about emotional arcs in this movie, we're talking about Kylo Ren right now.
Yeah.
But, arguably, still the main character, more or less, is kind of Rey, unless they shift toward being Kylo. So my thing is, what's Rey's emotional arc going to be in this movie? And,
Here's one for you.
Yeah.
Rey's a nobody. Her parents were drunks, and they sold her for alcohol and Jakku. What if she's not? What if she comes from somewhere? And what if nobody hate me? But this is just spitballing. What if JJ's like, you know what? She is a Solo. Hear me out on this. We don't have Carrie Fisher.
But not Leia. Yeah.
No.
Oh no. Okay. Well, continue.
We don't have Carrie Fisher. We need. Kylo needs this. Kylo needs something here. There's nothing left for him to grasp onto anymore. What if she's a Solo, and that's it? And he sees, and it's the Leia and Luke thing where they weren't supposed to be related, but now they are.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, you pull that out of your butt because he needs something to remind him of his mother for that connection. Because maybe ultimately this movie came down to Kylo and his mother. And that's what was going to be the crux of it all. And we don't know what way it was going. We don't know. But let's say that. And then so they're like, that is a way to play it that also goes into what Rey's is. Because, the thing with Rey is, and one of my issues with Rey as a character, she's almost, no offense to anyone that loves her because it's fine if you do, but she's kind of bland in that she's nothing.
Yeah.
Like, she's like, I'm cool and I can fight. You're like, that's cool. But who is she? She's like, she's nothing. So either she's going to stay that way where you just kind of, look, Daisy Ridley is a fine actress and you watch the movie and you, like, there's nothing about Rey that watching it, I have a problem with. It's afterwards when you're like, well, who's Rey?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, in a lot of ways, I think, like, I like Rey quite a bit. And I think one of the big reasons people like Rey is that her chemistry with, like, the cast and the other people around her, like, how
that's the thing,
fun she is.
It's not the character. It's the personality of.
Well, yeah, it's a lot of Daisy Ridley's performance as Rey, as opposed to just reading Rey.
Mm-hmm.
Then
reading Rainbow.
Reading Rainbow. That's a shirt. No, I agree with you. Like, I feel like there's more to Rey than we've been told. And I said it before, like, Kylo Ren is not a reliable source for information. He does whatever it takes to survive. Because a scene later, he lies to Hux. Because I also think there's got to be more. Because, like, you're right. It's like, you're a nobody. And there's not even, like, an emotional attachment to being a nobody. It's just like, you are no one. And her whole journey, her whole point is to, like, discover who she is in a sense. Not in the typical sense, because she is waiting for her family to come back in Force Awakens. So in her mind, she's just waiting. It's like, my moment is coming. Even though she thinks her parents, again, like it's too vague. So it's like, and for like, it doesn't give her motivation to do anything. Why is she becoming the person she is? Why? Because she thinks it's the right thing to, based on what?
Yeah.
Like she's a scavenger from a desert planet. All you would want to do is survive. So if she is that character, then why didn't she go with Kylo in Last Jedi? Because she thinks that's not the right thing to do. But based on what? So yeah, no, there's got to be more.
Yeah, I don't think I could, like, we did our top 5 female characters a little while ago, and we both had Rey low on or high, like not like 5. It was like 5, 4. Like it was high. She made it, but it was high, and it's like, give me. And I was really hoping this movie would propel her to like way higher up, and I don't think it did for me personally, because, but her story is definitely not done. And what is her story? Because right now she's just, she's a fun character with no depth.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing, is that when we're talking about her character and what it could be in 9, and especially the emotional part of it, like what's her arc going to be in it, I think everybody that thinks that Rey's parentage has been finished, I want to ask them, what do you think is Rey's arc in this? Because I don't see what her arc is in this movie unless it's having something, at least something to do with her lineage.
My fear is that her like, that's the answer. Like, Kylo, because I don't think Kylo lied to her. Kylo might have had misinformation, but I don't think he lied to her. And I really think that that's what Rian Johnson believes her parents are. And I think, and I think a lot of ways JJ too, because the thing is, Broom Kid at the end is a perfect example of where they're like, no, the Force isn't everybody. Anybody can do the Force right now. So for their mindset, it makes sense for Rey to be able to do it, because Rob, you can have the Force right now.
Oh yeah,
like that's what I mean. So I think like the point of Rey is that she is a nobody with extraordinary powers, which is bland. I think it's blander than her being like Jabba's daughter. Like, it's like okay, like cool, but why not like her? I'm not saying her parents have to be Solo and Leia.
Yeah.
I'm saying give her some dynamic.
Yeah.
Of something, like you said, she's striving towards something. What is it?
Yeah.
It might even be like, the arc for her with her parents might not even be in the case that it's not really these people that Kylo said it was, and it's somebody else. It might simply be that these people have more to know about.
Yeah.
So these people that are in this grave in Jakku, just you could find out more about them, and there might be more layers to it, and that might be her emotional part of it, right? It could simply be that these people were former rebels or something like that, or I don't know what it is, but I just think that there's more. Regardless,
I mean, think about how she like mystifies Luke Skywalker. It's like, oh, Luke Skywalker, the Jedi Knight, and then knowing the Millennium Falcon, and then also her scenes with Han where she's like, it's like, I fixed it, I fixed the hyperdrive, and you're like, great. And it's like, and it's like she's super excited to be part of a team. Yeah. So her journey is to find a family, but why?
No, she has.
Well,
because she doesn't have a family. The thing is, like, I have no problem with The Last Jedi and the quote-unquote disconnects between The Force Awakens. Like, I personally think that everything went as going according to plan. And I don't think Rian Johnson was like, screw you, J.J. Abrams, I'm doing my own thing. I think it was like, J.J.'s like, this is what's going to happen. Either you do it or I'm doing it, but this is how it's working out. And I think they knew. My one disconnect in the whole thing is with Rey. And in The Force Awakens, she's like, I'm waiting for my family. I got to go back to Jakku because my family's coming. And then in this movie, it's not my family's coming. It's like, I don't know who my parents are. It's almost like they've changed her narrative from waiting for her family, because we wanted to know who her parents were.
Yeah.
She never asked that question once in The Force Awakens. Like, as far as we know, she knows where she comes from in The Force Awakens. She's just waiting for them to come back.
Yeah. Why does everyone want to go back to Jakku?
Do you think is Jakku coming back in 9? 100%.
I kind of hope so. Why not? They did it with Tatooine, so.
I wouldn't be surprised if she trained her people. I wouldn't be surprised if it was on Jakku. She trains the place that she knows, right? And for her to choose a place, I could see it being Jakku.
Yeah, she goes and frees the slaves.
Yeah.
Do you think there's any way? Slaves, but. Do you think there's any way we get like Naboo back? Do you think Naboo could ever come back?
That would be great.
Or do you think that? Do you think though the sequel trilogy? Because we this Sunday we'll talk about it on our roundup. Do you think they're too far removed from planets and creatures that they'll be like, no, that's old. Let the past die. We're going to stick with this new planet called Nagoo. And it's basically like, you know what I mean? Like, do you think they're too far removed from that where we won't get any of the old planets back?
I'm going to say within the next 5 years, I think we're going to get Naboo in a movie, but it could just simply be in the same way that they showed Coruscant on Rogue One. It could just be a single scene somewhere for something.
But in a saga film.
Oh, in a saga film.
Because spin-offs, I feel like spin-offs are like, yeah. But these ones are like, nope, slow and low.
Yeah, if we're talking about Episode 9 and Naboo, I'm going to say no. I'm going to say, like,
I mean,
almost no chance. Because I don't know why Naboo would be there.
Well, we don't know what it's about.
We don't, but yeah.
In like the original trilogy, we only really returned to Tatooine.
There's nowhere else to return.
Yeah.
But
like in the prequels, we go back to Coruscant quite a bit.
And Naboo.
So it's like... It's funny because we're trying to compare all these things together. And it's like,
well, J.J. Abrams to say this is gonna wrap them all up, all 9 of them up.
Good point.
So let's say Leia, they don't recast Leia. They're like, Leia will have died peacefully in her sleep. Blah blah blah. That's just an excuse. Could her funeral be on Naboo because Alderaan is gone? Her biological mother is from Naboo. She was born on a ship, but let's say she was born on Naboo. Yeah. Like, does that make sense to anybody? Because she goes there in Shattered Empire.
Yeah,
I think she knows where she's from, right?
She goes there in Poe Dameron. She goes
and Battlefront.
And Battlefront too. Like they're pushing that canon. She understands her history.
Yeah, and like, what better place to have it if it mirrored her mother?
Yeah, you know what? It would be good because it'd be a great send off to.
And I think it would be respectful for Carrie Fisher as well, like just as it all.
And then when we do a time jump that's like a year or two, then it's acceptable because it's like, well, she floated in space. That has to have had some effect. Yeah. And she's older. Like, she just can't fight anymore. You know, at the end, when Holdo sacrifices herself, the last thing they say to each other is like, I can't deal with another person dying today. Like, it's like, yes, you can. So
Side Akbar then, if that funeral scene happens on Naboo, what are the chances of us seeing a nice gray Jar Jar Binks just attending the funeral?
That would be
awesome. Jar Jar is on Naboo according to Aftermath.
Yeah. That would be amazing.
Like
or just an alleyway that just says Jar Jar lives.
But I feel like
his colors are just like dulled. It's like old.
That would be amazing. The one problem with that is J.J. Abrams' hatred for Jar Jar Binks, where he said Jar Jar was buried in the sands of Jakku. He wanted to put his bones there. So, but it would be like that would be a brilliant callback where you see like, I guess Boss Nass would be dead, but you see someone like, well, no, because they're reptiles. They live for like billions of years, right?
I think in canon they have a new boss or something.
Yeah, but I mean but that character would kind of be cool.
Yeah. People hated Jar Jar Binks in the prequels when it was happening, but they still put Jar Jar in the funeral scene in Revenge of the Sith, right? They just had him walking there, sad.
Yeah, but
that's something like that, right? Yeah, no, it's true.
I'd be down for that. I think going that is a great way. I think for the Carrie Fisher thing for her character for Leia. If you're not going to recast her, which I really don't think they're going to do, because if they're going to recast her, I don't know if Trevorrow would have been can, because I feel like whatever he had, like he was so far along, and then he had to rework it obviously. But I just feel like there was something there that they're like, we have to retool this, and now there's character arcs. It's the character arcs that are in flux. It's not Leia. And I really think it's Kylo. I think everything's coming down to Kylo, because if this was going to be Leia's film, it was going to be Leia and Kylo.
Yeah.
And I really think it's the Kylo character that they're like, well, we got to go back to square one on this one.
Well, didn't they had a thing where each director got to talk to the other director or writer to like, hey, can you do this? Because like Rian Johnson did that with JJ, and I thought we heard Colin Trevorrow did it as well. So I'm curious, how different would this movie have been if like he hadn't been fired or he hadn't been hired? You know what I mean? If JJ from the beginning, like how different would Last Jedi have been? Not by much, but like, you know, I don't know.
It's interesting. I still think I think Force Awakens is Force Awakens, obviously. And I think Last Jedi is exactly what was always planned from the start to happen. Maybe not in certain ways, but Luke was going to be up there. He didn't want to train. Like, I think the beats are all exactly that were planned out. The way they got there a little bit differently. And I think Episode 9 had, like, they knew where it was going. Like, Rian Johnson knew where 9 was going. And then Carrie Fisher passed away. And then that, like, if it's like we just said, like, if it's her movie, what now?
Yeah.
No, I know. Yeah, it's the most difficult part, especially that, like, you know, I don't even know. I think that whatever they had planned for Luke in Episode 9, it has now been heightened. So they're like, whatever, like, scene or two maybe, or whatever they had planned for Luke in this movie is now going to become bigger. Like, that's where I had this discussion with you, I think both of you guys at the New Year's party, where I was just like, I think that because Carrie Fisher's not in this movie anymore, I think that we're going to get a lot more Force Ghost Luke than we did before.
Yeah,
I still feel like they're gonna weigh on him a little bit to sell this movie a little bit more. Like, they're gonna show you some of Luke Force Ghost in the trailers. They will show you that stuff, and I feel like we'll still see at the end of the credits Mark Hamill's name come up first.
Do you guys think that they can't sell the next movie on the new characters?
They definitely could. They could. But yeah, I just feel like they would want to still incorporate that nostalgia part of it. They would want to think that they would want to.
At what point do they break free from the nostalgia, though? Because you got Solo heavily nostalgia, Obi-Wan nostalgia, Boba Fett nostalgia. Rian Johnson's new trilogy won't be nostalgia. And isn't that going to... Like, how afraid are they right now of that trilogy? Because he just made this movie which has divided fans like crazy. Now you've got him doing a trilogy which is not going to have Mark Hamill, Harrison Ford, Carrie Fisher, Billy Dee. Well, maybe Billy Dee. But it's not going to have anyone that we know. Like, at what point are they going to cut the cord and be like, no, move on? Like, I like the idea of Luke coming back, but I like the idea of, like, you don't put him in a trailer. Like, when he shows up in the movie like Yoda, you're like, oh, look, he's back.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's somebody that they would consider. And it's like, whatever script they had before with Colin Trevorrow did not include Lando, and maybe now JJ's open to doing something with Lando just because of, you know.
But where is Lando?
I know.
Like, it doesn't make any sense.
He's on Kashyyyk with the Wookiees selling them stuff.
But when you watch Return of the Jedi, he's so proud to be a general and to lead. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's so, and then all of a sudden it's like, don't worry about it. Akbar's here. Oh, but Akbar's dead. But like, you know, they're like, you went out of your way to get an old Akbar costume. Why can't you just bring Billy Dee Williams in?
Yeah, I think you've said to me, I don't know if it was on the webcast or the podcast or in real life, that like Calrissian should have been the Maz character.
That wasn't me. That was, I believe, that was the Seal Wars podcast.
I know, but I heard it from you.
I'll take credit.
Like, it was, yeah, that would have been, you know, slightly a good way. I think it would have worked. I like Maz, though. Possibly Maz could come be our character that gives us all this information of the past, because she knows Han and Leia. She knows a lot of things. So she could be the person that comes in, but she has to be a bigger character, if that's possible.
Yeah, you know how I feel about Maz.
No, I know. But like, that's...
Like, but I think J.J. Abrams knows who Maz Kanata is. I just think Lupita Nyong'o was contractually obligated to this movie, and they were like, we got to throw her in. Jetpack!
Have either of you guys heard positive comments that they liked the way Maz Kanata was?
Rock.
Oh, you do?
Oh, I liked it. I liked that, like, they include her in that way. I wish it was a bigger character, and she just looks completely CG in it, but it's hollow, so whatever.
Right.
I mean, the whole plot with Rose and Finn is just like, well, we don't really need this. That's why when I talk about it now, it's like, well, I think it's building to something else because it's just like it just seems bizarre. I like Rian Johnson quite a bit. I just rewatched Looper because I was like, I'm gonna watch Looper again.
Yeah, and
it's a great film, and it's a world building film in a sense. Even though it doesn't build a world, you're like, oh, I want to know about all these characters. Even though when you think about it, most of the characters are dead by the end of that movie. But you're just like, yeah, that's so cool. You're told about this world you never see, this future world where all this stuff happens. You're like, wow. But so it's like, I don't think there's an argument that Rian Johnson doesn't know what he's doing when he's writing a story. So like those things have to mean something. But anyways, back to Mads. I don't know. Like it's just like I think she works, but it's such a short. It's just a get. It's like we need to get from here to here. Okay, here, Mads, you're the person in between. So it's like, but I could have been anyone. So that's why I say like, that's why I bring up Lando Calrissian. Like that would have been a great point. But like Lando, do we need him? Like I don't know.
No, but do you need like any? You know,
yeah,
like,
exactly.
like I just think it's weird when you have a character that shows up in a movie, then he's a general in the next movie.
Yeah.
And then you just ignore his existence for 2 movies.
Would it be a huge retcon if they just said like, "Hey, he's a general from some other part of the Resistance that you just haven't seen yet"?
Well, it's because they knew this maneuver from the Battle of Snap. So
no, I'd be fine with that if that's it. But I just don't think we're going to get him in this movie either. And Rian Johnson's like, I thought about making him the Slicer. I'm like, that's like, okay, but why would he? Like, he was a general. I guess Han went back to his old ways, but why would Lando? And where? And the thing is, it's not even just in the movies, but in the books. Where is Lando?
No, true. Yeah. But yeah, I would feel like a weird retcon. Because I just thought about it for a second. If they did this big send off for Carrie and just had this funeral at the beginning of the movie on Naboo, and then it was just like you just saw Lando like put something down by her grave, and then like somebody was just like, oh, who's that? And then they said Lando Calrissian, and then Rey has another giddy moment where she's like, Lando Calrissian, and then he becomes like the new leader of the Resistance in some type of way, or like that's how they.
But can he be the leader of the Resistance? He hasn't been around for 2
years. I know, but that's why I said use the word retcon. And it's just saying that he's doing a battle over there.
He's in Battlefront.
Yeah, that's just what I was gonna say. Look at what they do with his character in Battlefront 2. It's like he's kind of a buffoon. He's like the fun version of Hux, you know, where it's like, oh, we'll just push buttons till things blow up, which is hilarious and I think great with the character. But he was in charge of Cloud City. Like he knows how to do things.
I want Shriv in Episode 9. That's what.
Yes. Directors of future Star Wars movie, watch how Battlefront 2 can make a character that's completely alien.
Awesome
and amazing. Oh, thanks, Shriv. I'm feeling great. Shriv, hashtag bring back Shriv. Like, is he in the book in Inferno Squad?
No. Inferno Squad is like a prequel to so he wouldn't be around.
But like, has Andrew played that game?
He got it for Christmas. He said he's halfway through the campaign.
Oh, so he because like he mentioned Shriv before I played it. He's like, I thought you guys were talking about.
He probably read stuff on it.
Yeah, like he is an amazing like. Especially being a Durian character, it's like those big little eyes still have emotion somehow. Like I don't know.
I love Shriv. So before we wrap up this talk, anything you guys think is definitely going to happen? Anything you don't want to see happen in Episode 9, Brock?
Slow space chases. I don't. I'll probably think of it later. Here's a plan. Where's the camera? We'll sabotage, and then they won't be able to know. They won't see us. I go, pew! No, I can't really think of anything. I probably will think of it in a couple hours when we're not doing this, but I'm game. I'm on this crazy ride. Take me there.
Just for the sake of my own sanity, I'd like, if they did a retcon, then it would be the retcon that Snoke has become the first ever Darkseid Force Ghost, and that he is in this movie in that type of way.
So I want to call that a retcon.
Well, I only feel it's kind of a retcon because they didn't really hint at it in Last Jedi.
Yeah, but
they hit it. If they hinted at it, that was very, very subtle, and that would be through the dialogue. because of what he was saying.
Whatever Snoke's outcome is, whether he's in this or not, that's how it was planned from day one. That's what I think. I actually think. Well, like honestly, Brock, we've been doing this show for a year and a half.
Yeah.
And we've multiple times said Snoke could die in episode 8. Snoke could die in episode 8. We've said
Snoke could just be Snoke.
Yeah, well, but like if it's in our minds, you're telling me it's not like it's a huge like it was out there that Snoke was going to die, and it seemed plausible to me. Anyway, I said it a week before we saw the movie. I'm like, I hope Kylo kills him because I want Kylo to be the bad guy, and for him to be the bad guy, he needs to get rid of Snoke, and the longer that goes, the less time he has to be the Supreme Leader.
It's like you can't compare the stuff to the original trilogy because, like, Vader being a Skywalker and then giving and backing out on his master in the third movie, it was like that was like unique because it's like, oh, I didn't expect that. I thought Vader. I'm sure when Return of the Jedi comes out, I was like, Luke and Vader are gonna lose it, are gonna fight, and then he's gonna vanquish Vader. That's like the podcast of the time.
Yeah.
In the 80s. No, like people possibly thought that. So, you know, to have it like Luke wins, but Vader comes over to the good side is like that's pretty crazy for a movie. We're used to it because like redemption in an anti-hero is like pretty prominent. And I'm not saying like George Lucas created those things. But now, Last Jedi is people are like, I don't know how to feel because it's not following a formula. So, like, we don't need their, like Snoke doesn't need to survive or Snoke can go away or whatever because it's like, this is a movie this franchise is based on, like, throwing you a monkey wrench. You're like, what? So, not saying that storylines aren't good, but, like, it's known to like screw with your head. And I was like, oh, it's not a psychological thriller, but you know what I mean, right? Like,
before we go out of this topic and into the next, Naboo or bust? No, I'm joking. Yeah, like I don't know where it's going.
Yeah.
But I would like to see Naboo, but I also said I would really like to see Anakin in Last Jedi. I didn't get that. So I am fine with not getting what I want. Let's quickly go over. We're doing this Road to 100 with top 25 characters each week from now until our 100th episode, which will be sometime like at the end of June. Can you believe? Like, this is a long time away. We're going to do 2 characters a week, so that'll be 50, and then all of our Patreon subscribers are going to narrow that down to 25 for us. Unless they don't want to, then Brock and I will do the math. We'll figure out. Today's 2 characters are Ahsoka Tano and Boba Fett.
Boba Fett.
Rob, Boba Fett was your choice. Why?
He was my choice. So I could have chosen somebody else, but I wasn't sure if Boba Fett was going to be chosen. So that's why I mostly chose Boba Fett. Jabba the Hutt's favorite bounty hunter. Here he is right there.
Ooh,
yeah, he's his go-to bounty hunter. Yeah, I just think that he's awesome. Like, he's one of my favorite designs for a character. Like, in general, like his costume, his helmet, the way he looks is just so awesome. And like, you know, people like to rag on the way that he died, and I can't completely disagree. But yeah, I think he's a cool character. He so much more can be explored with him in terms of, like, you know, about being a bounty hunter, like what he did. Like, you know, we've seen games about it and whatnot, like with Jango Fett and with Boba Fett as well. So yeah, I think there's more to be explored there, and just, you know, give people the badass Boba Fett that we had in glimpses in like Empire Strikes Back and maybe a glimpse or two in Return of the Jedi, and just bring him to the forefront. And yeah, I think he's a great character. He was one of my favorite designs when I was a kid, and he still is today.
I think Boba Fett's like perfect example as the first example of how fans can sway what happens. Like, because Boba Fett was such a random character that doesn't really do a ton in the movies, doesn't say a lot, but people loved him. And especially, like, he was in the holiday special in that cartoon where they're still trying to figure out what exactly he was. Mm-hmm. But, like, because fans loved him so much, they're always like, well, we should put him back in. And then George Lucas is like, Jango Fett. But, like, the idea of Mandalorians and then how they blow up in Clone Wars and stuff like that. Like, and now this is why people think that they can start a petition. It's like, we don't want that movie anymore. It's like, because we created Boba Fett. That's the genesis of it. entitlement.
I just want to say, for Ahsoka Tano, for me personally, was a character that I did not like off the bat, and then gradually grew on me, and then absolutely love in Rebels.
But the fans,
and the fans
made her who she is.
I think it'd be difficult to find a person or people that liked Ahsoka Tano in that first Clone Wars movie.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that would be difficult to find. And she became popular over the course because she actually had an arc and she had like things that you could grow to like about her.
I think the major problem was like, well, how does Anakin have a Padawan, and then we've never heard about it? But like, they figure out a way to do it, right? And I think that's what people didn't take to it right away. But then you're like, wow, that's cool.
All right, let's move on to Brock's second favorite part of the show.
And next up, never tell me the odds.
Oh, today's odds are special.
Why are they special, James?
We got a guest.
Oh, what?
Rob. No, I'm joking. He's been here the whole time. We have Den Allen, our Patreon subscriber. Den Allen is here. How you doing, Den?
I'm great. How are you guys doing?
I'm great. Nice shirt, by the way. You match Brock.
Hey, yeah, shirt buddies.
Star Wars.
Star Wars. Who doesn't like Star Wars? Rob doesn't like Star Wars.
Last Jedi.
That's
it.
Wow.
All right, so Den is here to join us for Never Tell Me the Odds. We got some nifty odds here. But before we get that, there is something coming up on January 29th that you are a part of.
That's right. I have accepted Andrew's challenge for Duel of the Fates, and I am so confident that he will go 0-2. That I have officially put in 1,000 Republic credits on Canto Bight for this bet, for this Duel of the Fates.
How much is that in like Litecoins?
5.
What?
What are those odds is my question. If those odds are good, then I might have to put some down myself.
There's no Republic anymore, so Republic credits mean nothing. Watto had it right the whole time.
Well, I can't wait for January 29th for that to happen. I always have fun with the Duel of the Fates with Darth Ward coming up victorious twice in a row. I'm glad to know that he will not win this time. It's nice to know we will have a new victor going forward on this one. I can't wait. All right, so let's get into our Never Tell Me the Odds. These ones are fun, I think. Dan, we'll go to you first on this one. The odds of Chewie's parents appearing in Han Solo.
Okay, Chewie's parents, I'm going to say 20%.
20%? Wow, Brock?
Now,
hold on.
I think there is a 75% chance we will see his wife, maybe even his pregnant wife.
Oh!
Pregnant wife?
Well, because even so, we know in the Aftermath series he has his wife and kid, but even if he has a 15-year-old kid, that's still a kid.
Fair enough.
Like, maybe.
It raises a good question. It's like, how much backstory of Chewbacca will we get?
It's a great point.
Yeah.
I don't know.
My answer is full Brock. I guess the question is, will we see Kashyyyk, or no, not necessarily. I guess will we see a group of Wookiees? Will the life debt turn out the way we've known in previous? So I'm gonna go 50-50 because I have nothing else to say.
I'm gonna go. I like what you just said there. God, now I'm excited. I'm gonna go 60% on. Okay, I'm agreeing with you. 20% on his parents, 60% for his wife and kid. Whether it's pregnant wife or
Hashtag
Full
make
Brock.
Mala canon.
But I think we're going to get more Chewie, and I think we're going to get to know more of his family, because I think because if the life debt does happen in this, that'll bring more emotion and stakes to him leaving for Han, which is something that I'd be interested in seeing for the third best Star Wars film. Rob?
I got to think, regardless of the fact that we were getting information about his family in the books, I kind of feel like something like the holiday special is kind of gonna push people, like the film people, away from ever touching anything like that. I don't think we're gonna get an Itchy in a movie anytime soon. So I'm gonna go really, really low for it. I'm gonna go like 1%. Wow. That his parents show up, because I just think that they're gonna keep away from that stuff, at least with the film world. We might get it in books and stuff like that, but just, you know, seeing a visual of a Wookiee that's supposed to be his father will just bring up the idea of what we saw with Itchy in the holiday special.
And correct me if I'm wrong, they kind of made a father figure in Revenge of the Sith. I think his name is Tarpals or something like that. The brown one. Like, isn't that supposed to be his father or something? I don't know.
You know, there was art for that and was unused of little Han Solo living on Kashyyyk at that time. Yeah, so glad they didn't use that, so that we got this movie. Rob, this one's just for you. The odds of Chewie cutting Snoke in half.
So is it like he's already cut in half and they're going to cut him in half again?
Yeah.
Like the
this takes place before that.
They have to like get rid of the body, so they're making it smaller.
He already had mechanical legs in Last Jedi, right? So they're cutting him in half.
There you go.
Well, what's really going to happen is Chewbacca is going to cut Darth Plagueis in half.
Oh, it's getting real. We should just write this movie. Uncle Ron, give us a call.
Uncle Ron.
Good for it. Here we go. Our next odd. The odds of C-3PO and R2-D2 appearing in Han Solo, Brock.
Ooh, this is a difficult one. I feel like it has to happen because it pretty much happens in all the other ones. I don't know how you would go about it, but I want to be optimistic, and I already did a full Brock, so I'm going to go 75%.
Rob?
Yeah, the fact that he was in like Rogue, they put them both in Rogue One, really makes me think that maybe they're going to continue that trend and keep them in there. But, you know, I feel like they're going to break that trend at some point. Like, there's going to be a movie that's going to come out where I think they're not going to be in it. So it might be this one, but I'm thinking more on the side that they will be in this one. So I'm going to go like 60-40 in favor of them being in it.
Dan?
100%.
Ooh, I like that.
I think that the first movie we're going to see without them two will be Johnson's trilogy.
Okay.
I'm going 100% as well. I think you throw them in Rogue One, you throw them in this. I know people are like, but it doesn't make sense. But it will make sense because it's a huge galaxy in there somewhere where Han Solo. I don't think Han Solo's going to talk to them.
Yeah, the question is because Han Solo can't interact that much with the rebellion, I think, in this one because of how close he comes into contact with them with A New Hope, and then, you know, they get turned on there. Like, I see the rebellion only being a small part of it, and C-3PO and R2-D2 may very well be in that part.
I'm going with that. Here we go. Our final odds for the day. Rob, I'm going to start with you on this one. The odds of Poe leading the Resistance in Episode 9.
Leading the Resistance. So that's I think the number one thing that I'm thinking about, because, you know, leading Resistance would mean, like, you know, maybe he's General Dameron now, like how Leia is. So with that exact title, I'm gonna have to say like 15 or 20% chance at that title, because I don't. It depends on how far this thing goes forward, right? Like, you know, if this jumps like 5 years, then maybe, because there would be a lot of character growth possibly for him. But if this is only like a short time, I foresee him maybe being a bigger part of the Resistance, but not entirely the general, like the leader, much like Leia is. So yeah, I'm gonna go like 15-20%.
Interesting. Dan?
That he's going to be the leader in the next film. How much of the next film?
Oh.
Because if you're telling me at some point in Episode 9 he becomes the leader, 100%.
Yeah,
but if you're going to tell me he starts the movie off as leader, I'm going to go way lower.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, give both.
Yeah.
Give both.
Yeah, go
100% leader.
Yeah, 100% if he will become, if at some point in the film he will be leader, and then 20%. And that's an optimistic 20% that he will start the movie as leader.
Okay. Cool. I'm gonna say 100%. At some point, he will be the leader of it. I think that is the smart move unless he might still die. But sorry, Brock. But I think that'll be the smart move to do, because, you know, you don't have Carrie Fisher anymore, and I thought The Last Jedi really was really building him up to be the
The
leader.
newbie Poe no Mo.
Poe no Mo.
I'm gonna say 95%. Yeah, either he becomes or he starts the movie as it. I think maybe we're gonna get a huge time jump. Maybe I kind of don't want it to be that. I think though that. I mean, after this movie, he could still be a high official, but not in charge. I think this movie was to teach him how to like follow orders, even if they're not his. Like to not be so crazy when it's like, let's just go blow stuff up. It's like, no, there's more to this than that. Of course, then JJ could just say, screw it, you erased what I did, so I don't know. But I'm pretty optimistic he's going to be important in the next one.
All right, there you have it. Those are our odds. Dan, thanks a lot for joining us here. We'll see you on the 29th. But where can everybody find you if you want people? If you don't want anybody to follow you, don't even answer this.
I don't think I have an outlet for people to follow me.
Fair enough.
So yeah,
This is why you're facing Andrew.
I have a Facebook page, Dan Allen. I look like me, so
Look for his comments in our YouTube because he's active and like all of them. Agree with everything he says.
You do. Rob does not. I want you guys to have a vote of no confidence about The Last Jedi. Go.
Go.
I hope I was the best.
I don't want to talk about The Last Jedi anymore. I'm tired.
I actually agree. The Last Jedi has exhausted my soul. Dan, thank you so much. We'll see you on the 29th. Take care.
All right, bye.
Hollow News.
Hollow News, the news that you need to know. So anyways, Adam Driver, what a delight. He's such a delight.
Great hair.
That he made sure, this article makes it sound like he's a saint. I argue he isn't. He's a great guy. But it was revealed that both Adam Driver and Daisy Ridley were on set when Rey and Kylo have their Force Awakening Skyping. Which is, not unheard of, but like that meant Kylo actually had to go to Ireland and be off screen so that Daisy could act against him instead of having just someone reading a script. This article makes a point to say like they went out of their way to give that authenticity, which is great. I won't focus on that because it's like actors being paid to go places. It doesn't excite me. But the cool thing about this one article talks about how we see them as this. Everyone thought Reylo would be a thing, so it's a romantic relationship, but it's also sort of tragic. And I think Ryan Johnson said this about the romantic tragedy that the two characters and how they interact, like in Force Awakens, the interrogation scene, that was one of the most intriguing scenes to me, both on the page and when I saw the scene that J.J. Abrams created. So I think he set up this very interesting dynamic, and then to get to play with it in this movie and now to get to hand it back to J.J. and see how it gets resolved, I'm really, really excited to see what happens. So I thought that was very interesting. It's like, yeah, the interrogation scene is pretty interesting because it's sort of, they're kind of figuring each other out in that scene. So now, so that's great. That adds to it. Next story. Donald Glover makes us feel nice and warm about the new Han Solo movie.
The third best Star Wars movie.
The third best Star Wars movie. He was interviewed recently that he spoke about the production change, that nothing really changed between Trevorrow being fired, forgetting who got fired. The Lord Miller getting fired and Uncle Ron coming aboard. He said it didn't really change. They were faced with anything. They were never really faced with any change, and Ron did a good job of coming in and didn't want us to change what we were doing at all. He wanted us to be comfortable with our vision. And he also said about reshoots, there wasn't a ton. So that's kind of good, of his scenes at least. So in a sense, we can take that Lando has not changed from one director to the next. But he's given us that, it's okay. It's going to be a good movie.
I can't wait.
I cannot wait as well. So we don't have a ton of new information on Rebels, the end of the 4th season, but David Filoni has revealed that the soundtrack or the score has been finished. The music is ready to go. So that is good, but outside of that, we don't have much else information besides the next episodes will be called Allegiance, One Giant Step Ahead, Call of the Spectre, and then 4 more episodes. Likelihood is that we might see something in the next month or so, possibly.
Soon, right?
It should be soon. It's usually about this time, but no information has been revealed. And in our final story, everybody's favorite movie is coming to Blu-ray disc. So it was announced that
VHX, well.
it was.
I don't know who made this graphic, but I love it.
I love it. I love when they try to do the VHS or like cassette version of things. It is rumored that the release of the Blu-ray and DVD will be March 27, 2018. Even so, that's pretty cool. That's really close. I was saying to Rob earlier, it's like I'm surprised at how quickly this is coming out. Like I remember the days where you would have to wait almost maybe a year to get anything. So it's already crossed the $1 billion mark globally, and is now considered the highest grossing movie of 2017, surpassing Beauty and the Beast. But if we look at the debuts of the other movies that came out recently, Force Awakens and Rogue One, they roughly came out digitally around April, March area. So this rumor could be accurate. But it's also reported that there will be 15 minutes of additional footage that was removed from the film's original 3-hour runtime. Like, that's crazy. So I'm very excited because I love this movie. And this has been Hollow News.
Oh, guess what the time it is?
It's time to pick a thing from this hat.
So this is the last one we're going to do for a little while. We have the Patreon one coming up soon to win what Brock just talked about, that the home video of The Last Jedi. Until then, everybody that shared it, their names are in this hat. Rob, why don't you pick the lucky winner?
All right.
It's our final. We'll do it again soon, but for now, just pick one.
All right,
That's mine.
one.
That's my name.
That's your name. Okay.
Here we go. And the winner is, can you read my penmanship?
Chris Hale. You have
Hale.
won. Well, let's tell him what he's won.
You've won a t-shirt.
A t-shirt.
We will talk to you later this week so we can get your details and we will ship it out to you.
Hell yes.
Congrats.
So I'm writing down my final top 5. My top 5 is terrible. Speaking of which, let's head over to that other side of the room that we like to call
Top 5.
Top 5.
Top 5. Standing by.
Standing by. Today's top 5. Top 5.
Top 5. Chewie moments.
Yeah, Chewbacca. I
have not selected all my
We
moments.
have to do our worst Chewbacca impression. Ready? Go. Rawr.
I am Chewbacca. I am a Chewbacca.
What book was it where he speaks English but he has a speech impediment?
Oh no, that's not him. That's Heir of the Empire. It's another Wookiee. That's why Leia's able to understand her.
Unbelievable.
Or him.
Unbelievable. All right, let's do top 5 Chewbacca moments.
Top 5.
Rawr.
Rawr.
Rob, why don't you go first?
All right, so I had some difficulty coming up with it. I had a few, like I had about 7 or 8, and then I just had to get a 5 out of it.
Yeah,
so,
it's only top 5.
So for 5, I just went with the rage of Chewbacca in shooting Kylo Ren in the gut after Han's death. So yeah, just the emotion out of it, and just the way that he reacted afterwards was sad, but also, yeah, you get him, Kylo. You get him, Chewie, and shoot Kylo. That was about the moment.
Of all the times for Chewie to have Stormtrooper aim, though, you know, just like my number 5 is Kashyyyk.
Oh yeah.
I don't care if he's shoehorned in. I like seeing Kashyyyk, and I like seeing Chewbacca on Kashyyyk, and I don't care.
That's my top 5 as well. I was like, I gotta put it in there because it's
one?
like that he's just in.
Oh, okay.
He's just in Revenge of the Sith. It's like, it's kind of like, meh. Oh no, I think the part I like the best is like, come Chewbacca, like, and he just jumps on his shoulder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Goodbye, Tarpals.
Number
Goodbye,
4
Chewbacca.
for me is Chewie swatting the Porg in The Last Jedi. I love it. Great meme. Absolutely love it. Love Porgs. Love Chewie. Might tie into my number 3. We don't know. Rob?
Number 4, I just went with Chewie stealing the ATSD on Endor. Just that factor of it, how much it helped the rebels in that battle is pretty huge because it was Han and Leia that were at gunpoint, that were essentially by the stormtroopers at that one point, and if it wasn't for them stealing that ATSD, who knows what would have happened in that battle? So it was a very important part of that battle on Endor.
Have you got a number 4?
I do. My number 4 is you must be very brave. In Force Awakens, where he's having this conversation with the nurse. I know she has a name. I can't remember. But that interchange is hilarious. Oh.
Do you have a number 3?
My number 3 will be, maybe controversial, Chewie eating the porg. Just because...
That's my number 3 also. Sorry.
Just because I don't want it to be too high, because it kind of... I like it. It's a great moment for two characters that cannot speak. But it's sort of like, I don't want him to be like, oh, it's Chewbacca, he's funny, ha.
No, that's my number 3 because it is freaking amazing.
Yeah.
Rob?
No, it's a great moment. For 3, I just went with Chewie reuniting with Han in Jabba's cage over there. That hug was just really really nice to see, and just the way those two characters reunited with each other is pretty awesome.
It's the best movie. My number 2 is Chewie and the Nurse from The Force Awakens. You must be so brave because it is the best scene in The Force Awakens. And that's not diminishing the other scenes. That's just saying that scene is freaking amazing. Whoever wants to go next, I am
Number
not talking.
2 for me is Chewbacca piloting the Millennium Falcon for the first time in Last Jedi. Maybe it's not the first time, but like for the Falcon to come in and do some crazy stuff, and it's Chewie behind the wheel. All right.
Yeah, finally gets to take over. That's pretty cool. So yeah, number 2 was it's more of a collection of scenes than just one, or a collection of moments, and more just one moment. It's when Chewie's putting C-3PO back together in Empire Strikes Back. Just the comedy that comes out of that moment between the two of them, where C-3PO is just being C-3PO and Chewie's trying to help out, but C-3PO won't have any of it.
That's my number 1 is Chewie putting C-3PO back together, because as funny as it is, it also shows, and we talked about this with the Porgs. I was like, the Porgs are going to be the C-3PO in The Last Jedi. It kind of turned out to be true, because Chewie, he's a Wookiee, let the Wookiee win and all that, but he has a heart of gold, and if you are his friend, if you mean something to him, he will look after you, he will protect you, even if he finds you brutally annoying. That's what I love about Chewie. Rob, number 1?
So my number 1 is just simply the wonderful line, Wookiees will pull your arm out of your socket if they lose. Just simply let the Wookiee win. That moment, which is hilarious. And the fact that I was able to get a Lego Star Wars game after the fact and actually play as Chewbacca and pull stormtroopers' arms out of their sockets is awesome. So yeah, that's my number 1.
Brock, take us home.
Let the Wookiee win, just like Rob. It solidifies that, like, even though he's cute and fun, he's also a warrior, and you can't mess with him.
Yeah.
Honorable mention, the deleted scene from Force Awakens, where he literally pulls the arms off Unkar Platt.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. Strange.
And if we're gonna, another honorable mention was when Ahsoka met Chewbacca in Clone Wars. That was a cool moment where he got that entire episode to shine. So that was kind of cool.
Brock, is Chewie your favorite Star Wars character?
Yes, he is. Right after Put Them On.
This has been the 76th installment of the Rebel Scum podcast, our second one for the year 2018.
Wow.
Stay on the channel, guys. We got a lot of fun. Like we said, the Ranking Star Wars is already up. We got a roundup coming up on Sunday about The Last Jedi. Someone would love it, hate it. We're going to talk about it. Yeah. And then on the 29th, Duel of the Fates. And February is awesome because February is Reylo month.
Reylo.
We're going hardcore on Reylo in February, so you're going to want us.
Because it's Valentine's Day during February.
What? It is?
That's why he's doing it. Spoilers.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot for whatever. Rob, where can everybody find you at?
Just as usual, at Robert E. McDonald on both Twitter and Instagram. We'll go back to the ASMR talk, just like this. Goes on like the winds in Naboo. I like that.
Brock.
You can find me at BFSmink on Instagram and Twitter.
Find me at Petsafina everywhere. I'm sorry, guys, I haven't been on Battlefront lately, but I promise I will be. We should set up like a time to play, but I'll be on there soon, so you can play with me soon. Anyway, thanks a lot, guys, for watching. And Brock, you were always scum.
Rebel Scum.
Hey, scumbags. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up on our video. As always, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Rebel Scum Podcast, for all the latest videos.